Hey guys, so I wanted to do a Friday Reads update video because I have actually been reading quite a lot this past week, but then I realized it's not actually Friday, it's Saturday morning, so I'm gonna do a Saturday Reads if that's a thing. So I am at the moment reading 3 books. And so the first one is How to Read Literature Like a Professor, a lively and entertaining guide to reading between the lines. This is written by Thomas C. Foster, and I am reading along with Dalton from Stripped Cover Lit. He is doing a new series over at Stripped Cover Lit's channel, and Dalton is basically breaking each chapter down for us. So I decided I would just read along with him, and I am reading chapter by chapter, and I am reading a chapter and then watching Dalton talk about that particular chapter, and I've really enjoyed the first part of this reading journey with him. Basically, he just uploaded the first episode in this new series yesterday or 2 days ago, and I really enjoyed reading the chapter and then watching his video. He referenced The Lord of the Rings constantly in his video, and I think that is a very good example of what the author Thomas C. Foster is trying to explain in this particular chapter of the book, which is about the hero's journey or the quest, and what that really entails and what it really means and how we can see that in various different ways. And it's curious that Dalton was thinking of The Lord of the Rings. I was thinking of something very different. I was thinking of the novel, the Pulitzer winner, Less by Andrew Sean Greer, which is very different, apparently very different from, your typical quest like Harry Potter or The Lord of the Rings or that sort of thing. Less is a very different kind of novel, but it absolutely is a hero's quest or a hero's journey. It has all the elements, and so yeah, I'm really enjoying this experience, and my favorite part of the book so far actually comes from the introduction. There's a reference to Sigmund Freud, and I think it's absolutely necessary to address Sigmund Freud and his psychoanalytical reading of people when we are talking about analyzing literature, because it's pretty much, I don't want to say that it's the same, but it does feel that when you are listening to a patient and analyzing a patient, you are using a set of skills and tools and equipment, mental equipment, that is very similar to that one that you employ when you are breaking down a text. And I will admit, I am not the most experienced reader. I am not the most analytical reader. I never really studied literature formally in my life, so I don't have those sets of tools and abilities when I read. But when I am analyzing a patient, working with a patient in my office, I find myself thinking, well, this feels like reading a book in a certain way. So this quote comes from the introduction, and the author, Thomas C. Foster, says, not only English professors use these abilities. Sigmund Freud reads his patients the way a literary scholar reads texts, bringing the same sort of imaginative interpretation to understanding his cases that we try to bring to interpreting novels and poems and plays. His identification of the Oedipal complex is one of the great moments in the history of human thought, with as much literary as psychoanalytical significance. So I think that is really cool, and that was a quote from this book that really resonated with me because I am a reader and a psychoanalyst, so of course I had to bring that quote up. And it's true, I think that was a true moment of brilliance when Sigmund Freud started reading his patients. And most people accuse or blame Sigmund Freud of seeing the Oedipal complex, the classical, traditional Oedipus complex in every single way, in every single thing, in every patient, in everything that the patient said. And he's accused of that. But of course, after Freud, we've had many developments in psychoanalytical theory and practice, and we have learned to see many more things, not just the Oedipal complex. But the Oedipus complex is something that is inherently a part of our lives. It's something that we can see every single day in pretty much every single thing that we do. But well, that is another topic. So that is How to Read Literature Like a Professor by Thomas C. Foster. It's entertaining, it's lively, as the title suggests. I am really enjoying this sort of read along with Dalton, and I will continue reading the second chapter once Dalton uploads the second part of his series. Then I will read this chapter and then go and watch his video. Then I am reading something slightly intense. It's actually very intense. This is a big, heavy, very heavy, big book. It is around 650 pages long. It is nonfiction, and it is something that I am reading for class, for my seminar, for my Freud seminar actually, but it's also very entertaining and incredibly fascinating. So this is in Spanish, but it's actually available in English as well. It is Memoirs of My Mental Breakdown. I think it's the title. I've actually not looked up the title in English, but it is by Daniel Paul Schreiber. And he is a very famous, his is a very famous case of schizophrenia or paranoia, or what we would nowadays call paranoid schizophrenia. So this is so interesting and so fascinating for many different reasons. Basically, it's the story of a middle-aged man, Daniel Paul Schreiber. He's writing his memoirs. He was a sort of political person, a political figure, and he had a psychotic, well, not one, but two psychotic breakdowns, and he writes them down. He writes everything down, and it is so incredibly intense and fascinating and sort of fun in a way. It's so wacky that it actually becomes really fun. Basically, his most important idea, or his delirium, is that he needs to transform himself into a woman so that he can seduce God, because God actually wants to destroy his soul. So he has to transform himself into a woman so that he can actually have sex with God and purify humanity. So that's that sort of schizophrenic patient that we have here. Really interesting. And later on, these memoirs were studied by Freud, and using those memoirs, Freud came up with one of his most important theories about paranoia. So this is very, very interesting, and it sort of reads like historical fiction in a way. It's so wacky and wonderful. And finally, the other book that I am trying to read is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. I just wanted to read something fun, something light, something wacky. I was reading Blanding's, what was it? By P.G. Wodehouse. I was reading Summer Lightning by P.G. Wodehouse, which takes place at Blanding's Castle. And I just wanted to keep on reading something wacky and absurd and ridiculous. And so I stumbled upon this copy, which I owned, and I just forgot that I owned it. And so I've never read it, so I decided this would be the best time to read the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So I'm reading just the first one. This is a big bind-up of all 5 novels, but I'm just going to read the first one for now, and so far I am really enjoying it. There are parts of it that feel a little pointless and sort of irrelevant, but for the most part, I am really enjoying the dialogue. The dialogue is insane and so kooky and philosophical, and it sort of reminds me of this really great, like, British humor that I really, really enjoy. which is also incredibly charged with atheist ideas that, of course, I enjoy. So yeah, this brings me back to like Monty Python ridiculousness. And of course, I love that kind of thing. So that is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And those are the three books that I will be reading for the moment. And I also have a lot of reading to do for academic purposes, but you know, I will not show you that because that is, I think, not as important for booktube, and it shouldn't be. So those are the three books that I'm reading. Please let me know in the comments down below, what are you guys reading? And if you have read any of these three books that I've mentioned today, please let me know your thoughts on them, or if you are interested in them, let me know, and hopefully we can have a conversation about this. Thanks for watching. I am Just One Reader.